Hey, it's TimesCark11 with another Q&A. So, at the last Q&A, I answered what my favorite Pokemon are of each type, and then I was asked what are my least favorite Pokemon of each type, so I'll be doing that now, just the one question again, since it should take a while and take up a whole video for itself. So, first off, the criteria for choosing least favorites of each type. This is going more by evolutionary line than individual Pokemon, since there's a lot of things where I may not like the first forms, but the final form redeems it, or I like the first forms and then the final form I do not like Incineroar, but those are not making it on because this is going more by what my least favorite evolutionary lines are in general, since having a whole line that I don't like makes it more least favorite than something where there's at least one member in an evolutionary line that I do like. So this will be mostly things where I don't like anything in the evolutionary line, though a lot of them are also just single Pokemon that don't evolve at all. And as with the favorites, I won't be... anything that's dual typed will only be listed for one type instead of being listed for both types, even if it's something that I dislike the most out of both of those types. That way it just doesn't get repeated too so much. So that way things don't get repeated too much if they are dual typed and I don't like them in either of the typings. So for grass, Hoppip, Skiploom, and Jumpluff are my least favorite grass types. Just really do not care for them at all. Hoppip, I guess, is the best of them, but Skiploom and especially Jumpluff, Jumpluff really ruins the line. Maybe if Jumpluff looked more like the others, it could have been not as boring. So least favorite fire type is Heatmore. Also, it took a while to figure out what my least favorites were. I had to go through lists of every single Pokemon by typing and try to figure out which ones were the least favorites, so that's why it took a while to get this video out after the last Q&A. So, nothing to really say about Heatmore, just not interested in it. Least favorite water type, this one's kind of a tie between Relicanth and Dreadnought. Leaning more towards Relicanth because it just looks really boring. Least favorite electric type is Arctozolt. This is one that it's just so ugly. Arctozolt is more than Garbodor levels of ugly. Least favorite ground type, Sandaconda. It's just dumb looking. Least favorite rock type. Now this one is less on design itself and more on lost potential, the Colossal family. So Roly-Poly is really good looking, and then it just evolves into a Rhyperior clone. Well, a hybrid of a Rhyperior clone and a Golem clone. When it could have been a train, it just makes no sense how it starts off obviously being a train and then it just turns into a clone of other Pokemon that had better designs already. So that's least favorite rock type just because of how much missed potential it is that's just a clone when it could have been an epic train. Least favorite fighting type is Crabominable and Crabrawler. Both of them are just pretty dumb looking. Also, competitive usefulness kind of ties into this too, because there are some Pokemon where I don't like their designs, but they're at least fun to play with, so that's why they don't make it onto this list. So this list is mostly things where not only do they look terrible, but they're not even fun to use either. So least favorite normal types, so there's a lot of these, but I had to narrow it down to just 3, and that would be Gumshoos, Komala, and Persian. I really like Meowth, but Persian is just no. So I could not decide on which one of these was the least favorite of all. I'm leaning towards Gumshoos as the least favorite normal type of all. Poison, now there's also a bunch of poison types. Garbodor, Quillfish, and Vileplume are the ones I narrowed it down to. And I'm leaning towards Garbodor as least favorite poison type of all. Least favorite psychic type, this one's easy. Bruxish by a mile. Bruxish is one of the ugliest Pokemon ever. I mean, obviously it's designed intentionally to be ugly, but it doesn't change the fact that it is horribly ugly. Least favorite bug type, Wormadam. Wormadam is probably the most boring looking bug type. Can't think of anything that looks more boring than Wormadam. Even with having different forms, it's still just so boring looking. Least favorite ghost type, Poltegeist. I mean, it has a nice gimmick, I guess, but there's just so many gimmick Pokemon, and its gimmick is, I guess, more interesting than some of the others, but still pretty boring design. Least favorite flying type. This one's a tie between Sigilyph and Toucanon. On one hand, Sigilyph looks dumb because it's supposed to be crazy looking, so I'd say Toucanon is more least favorite, because at least Sigilyph does what its design is supposed to do by looking wacky. Least favorite ice type. This is a tie between Jinx and Arctovish. Arctovish is almost as ugly as Arctozolt, but not nearly as much. I mean, at least the top half looks good. Least favorite dark type. This one's a tie between Alolan Raticate and Grimmsnarl. Leaning more towards Alolan Raticate for least favorite. Least favorite steel type is Berserker. It's a cat. Cats should be cute. It's not cute. Least favorite dragon type is Druddigon. Least favorite dragon being Druddigon is mostly just because it's so forgettable. I mean, it has an unusual design, but nothing really noteworthy about it. It just looks like a super generic dragon that happens to be spiky. And it's just very forgettable. And least favorite fairy is Aromatisse. Nothing to really say about Aromatisse either, just boring. So most of these are least favorites because they just are really boring looking. Plus, there's nothing interesting to use them for competitively. And then some of the others, a few are just outright ugly. But if there's any questions that you want answered in a future Q&A, then leave them in the comments, and I'll get to that eventually. And if there's any specific LEGO Pokemon or LEGO minifigures that you want me to make, then see commission info linked in the description. So, see you next time!